I'm feeling 22.
Remember, if you like what we're doing here, make sure to give us a positive rating on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to the show. Also, make sure to check out the YouTube channel at youtube.com/thatoneandrew, where full recordings of this podcast are posted along with a plethora of other videos. We now also have a Patreon where you can support us. Head over to patreon.com/thatoneandrew. Check it out today, and thank you for listening. Now, on to the show.
Give us money.
Greetings, all. Welcome back to Doomed to Repeat, a history podcast, the show where three friends come together each month and talk about interesting moments throughout history. I'm your host, Andrew, and joined today with me are the scholar ballers of history, Matthew and Levi.
I swear to God, stop.
Just shut
On
up.
this
Just shut up.
episode
Just shut up.
of Doomed to
Shut up.
Repeat,
Shut up.
Matthew will be telling the crew about the history of Russia in the 19th century.
Yeah,
But
you will.
before we get into all that, tradition dictates that I ask you all, how's your month been, I guess? It's been a hot minute since we've
It's been
met
a
up
hot
like
minute.
this. Yeah.
Because we made the Australia episode. And,
Yeah, we did.
I thought that episode was hot fire.
I agree.
And we are not getting recognition for that.
Jesus Christ.
We should have like 5 million views on that damn video already.
The fucking honestly, the queen herself should be bowing down to us, being like, "Oh, thank you for educating the world."
Honestly.
But here we are. I'll see a queen at my feet. Where are you, Queenie?
Yeah. You know.
So what have you guys been up to? You know, like what's the shindig?
Just been,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
School started back for you, Levi.
School started back up and hell busy. Been having a lady pop in my life recently. How that
Oh,
goes.
it's now time for Levi's Pound Town Corner,
What
the part of the show where
fuck?
we talk about Levi's romance. Levi, tell us all about her.
So yeah, GameStop stock shares.
What a bubble that was, am I right? Like that
Am I
fucking
right?
that exploded up and popped.
And popped.
Fucking went down like the Hindenburg, if you know what I mean. Went down like the Challenger, you know what I mean.
Okay, enough.
Went down like the World Trade Center, you know what I mean.
Andrew, shut the fuck up.
Oh man, Matthew,
How
how have you been? You been up to anything?
You're gonna bleep all of that, right?
It's funnier if I bleep it.
I
didn't say anything about. See, I'll just put a bleep there. Matthew, what have you been up to?
like, what do you mean with just like life or what?
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks since audience has heard from you. They're starving for information. They want to know what is happening in your life. Last we heard, you got a car,
Yeah.
and we know nothing else.
Not a lot happens in my life.
Okay, well.
Just, I go to work a lot. I come home. I collect things, and I drink copious amounts of beer, wine, and malt liquor.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
So, yeah, I mean, there's not much going on in life right now, and I just hate a lot of stuff.
I feel like no one's early 20s are really living unless you go through that moment where you're just like, I'm just going to drink a lot.
I mean,
I've
been drinking a lot since I was, So,
yeah, let's just leave it there. Yeah, 21, right?
Yeah, sure.
21. That is the legal answer that you're saying.
Sure. Let's leave it at that, but yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Glad to hear that the ballers are doing well. We're gonna go ahead with all that being said. Unintentional rhyme. What the hell was that? What is that?
I'm sorry. Okay, fuck. I'm opening Snapchat. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Fuck.
Bitch, I'm gonna slap you.
Well, with that being said, we'll go ahead and go to our Would You Rather question of the week. Now, of course, as always, I try to keep these topical. Had a little hard time with this one. But the Would You Rather goes as follows. Would you rather be in a Russian circus or be in the KGB?
Being a shit, man.
You know what I was thinking of also? Because the Russian circuses, as anyone who's anyone knows, they have the bears.
They do have the bears.
So
they do have those nice.
Keep that in mind. But they probably have bears in the KGB too. So
probably do. I mean, KGB is no longer the KGB, but
it's probably still there some way. It's probably even more secretive than it was.
It's like under new management. It has a new name.
Exactly. Yeah. It's called the BGK.
Is that really what it's called now?
No.
Big Girl Coochie.
But
Damn, Andrew. Fell flat on that one.
You got the whole squad laughing with that one, man. But fuck. I don't know. I think I feel like I'd be in the KGB. Shit. I'd try to get in there, do some Russian ops shit, you know what I mean?
I feel
some
that.
Spetsnaz crap,
I would want to be the guy that they like
I would have wanted to have been Putin's superior.
Ooh.
During his time, the KGB.
That would be cool. I want to be the dude that has the umbrella that like secretly kills people. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about in the Kingsman? Or are you talking about the actual one with the umbrella that had like the little tip thing of cyanide that shot into somebody and killed him?
The actual one, not the freaking comic book.
That Kingsman, it's a comic book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a movie.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, man. It's a comic book. Matthew, we all know you're.
Sorry,
we all know you're a damn clown, so.
Yeah.
Your answer's the circus.
Man, I was gonna say circus, so like.
I know you were.
Hey man, listen. Life's a circus, and match the clowns.
Bring out the clowns.
I'm the crying clowns.
I'm just gonna throw this out right now. I've never seen a Russian clown, but I am assuming it's the worst thing in the world.
I'm assuming it's just like any other clown.
Fucking nightmare fuel.
You think clowns are scary?
Yeah, he's a pussy.
I think.
Finally, someone calls him out on it.
I feel like a person that dresses up like that, who intentionally puts makeup on, is quite frightening.
So you say that your girlfriend is scary because she puts makeup on?
Ha! Boom! She doesn't wear makeup. Huh? I've dead ass only seen her in makeup once my entire life.
Once.
Was it?
And that's because she had to.
Because she had to. What do you mean she had to?
She's like doing one of those fucking like things because she was like in some position at her school and they had to like put makeup on and dress nice and stuff because it's a private school,
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So, but she never wears makeup ever.
It's crazy.
It's quite baffling. In fact, the one time that she did wear makeup, I was like, "That's scary. I don't like this. You don't look like you.
You don't look like you.
What's wrong with you?"
That being said, I powder this bitch every morning, so who am I to say?
What are you talking about?
So you're saying you put makeup on?
What?
Yeah.
Who?
You say that you powdered this bitch.
What? Okay, let's move on. This is getting ridiculous.
You say you put up.
This is ridiculous. All right.
Andrew,
so
I'll find the picture of you wearing a tutu. Like, it's fine.
The next part of the show is this day in history. Now, guys,
this day in history. What happened this
we
day?
missed the day because, God, I was going to blow up on Roosevelt because we missed the day that he sent American Japanese citizens into concentration camps.
Oh, yeah.
We missed it.
So
but I have something even better.
What's up? What happened?
On this day, February 20th,
yeah,
in 1939,
1939,
Americans hold a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden.
Baller.
Now, hear me out. I have some to read about this. Because I don't know.
No, hey, Grandpa, what did you do during World War II?
I don't know about you. I didn't know this ever fucking happened. But, dude, let me read this to you. This is from history.com, the history channel, okay?
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
6.5 months before Adolf Hitler invaded Poland, New York City's Madison Square Garden hosted a rally to celebrate the rise of Nazism in Germany. Inside, more than 20,000 attendees raised Nazi salutes towards a 30-foot tall portrait of George Washington, flanked by swastikas. Outside, police and some 100,000 protesters gathered.
That is fucking crazy.
I love how there was 100,000 protesters, though.
So they say. Probably were.
You know.
But that's not something they teach in history books. Oh,
guys, I just want to... I don't want to distract from that monumental knowledge dump there, because a lot of people don't know that the Nazi Party was actually fairly prominent in the United States before the onset of World War II and the United States involvement. And actually, it was still up until Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and Germany declared war on the United States. It was still fairly popular in the United States for there to be Nazi parties. But once the United States gets fucked with, we are all together and we're all going to fuck you up. So we put all our differences aside. But
except for the American South when it came to desegregating the army.
Let's just leave that at bay, Levi. Why you gotta be
this expert really is something else. Banners at the rally had messages like "Stop Jewish domination of Christian Americans" and "Wake up, America! Smash Jewish communism." When the Bund's national leader Fritz Kuhn gave his closing speech, he referred to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt as Rosenfield and Manhattan District Attorney Thomas Dewey as Thomas Dewey.
Jesus.
Man, they could get away with anything back then.
Yeah, they didn't have TVs.
I will say
life was different.
Like, one of the favorite historical events that happened in the past week, actually, there's a special holiday that a lot of people out there celebrated that was made by Hallmark called Valentine's Day, which is a ripoff of just the Festival of Venus from the Romans. But, you know, we gotta sell
stuff.
Man,
shut your ass, man. I ain't gonna hear this about Saint Valentine and the Catholic tradition of to hold your loved ones together and to cherish them.
Came from Venus. Sorry to burst your bubble.
Don't care.
But anyway,
nobody worships that anymore.
A more important thing happened on that day.
What's that?
It's the day
you lost your virginity?
No. Jesus Christ.
He said no, not yet, boys. One day.
No.
Man, what do y'all be dick? Okay, what's up, Matthew?
It's the day the Bismarck was launched. Jesus Christ. Let me finish my thought. It's the day the Bismarck was launched, the most feared ship of the entire sea during World War II.
It's crazy.
A question.
What year was it launched? Yeah, what year was it launched, by the way?
1939, same year as Andrew. Like, literally a week before that rally happened is when the Bismarck was launched.
That's question from the audience. Now, why when I hear Bismarck do I think of food?
Is that for like the people listening, or is that for us, or like?
Yeah, a question from the audience to us. Let's just say there's some people out there that when they hear Bismarck, they think of like, I don't know, waffles or something.
That makes no sense.
I've never thought of Bismarck when I...
Bismarck chocolate, maybe?
I've never thought of... Yeah. That's just... That is... what are you on right now?
Yeah. It's messed up. That's what I'm thinking. Whoever had that question in the audience, best keep your mouth closed.
Is it Susan?
This is your last warning. After this, you're banned.
What did I do?
All right. Let's move on.
Look at the chat real quick.
To the topic of the show. But the audience can't... Oh, my goodness.
What did I do?
Put the time.
I guess I did. Okay. We know it's 10:48.
just reminding you. Uh,
Oh man. Hey. Oh.
sorry, sucking too much dick lately. Okay, well, let's go on and move to the main topic of the show, and that is 19th century Russia. Now, I don't remember what donkey thought of this topic.
You.
And I don't know what donkeys agreed to this topic.
Me.
You.
But here it is. One of the most boring time periods, and might I add, one of the hardest to research, because I don't know about you guys, there ain't fuck all about this part of Russia. Like, obviously, we do have information, or I guess considerable amount of information around the beginning of the 19th century, because, you know, whole Napoleonic Wars are happening, Russia's involved in that. But after that, fucking, I don't know. I kept looking shit up, and I couldn't find anything.
I'm about to make you eat those words, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, I won't eat my words because I couldn't find anything.
The 19th century, specifically for Russia, was one of the biggest centuries in history for Russia since its founding.
To be fair, I don't feel like Russia accomplishes a lot, so I can believe
just
that.
think of what event. Jesus. Think of what event happened early on in the 20th century in Russia. There's multiple events that happen early on.
Are you talking about the revolution?
Yes, and World War One. Those two.
Viva la Resistance. Wrong revolution. My bad.
No. I want to hear what Matt's saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
Both of those events are 100% influenced, and even you could debate caused by Russia and the way they had executed policy, the way they conquered and were imperializing, the way that they were developing through the 19th century. There is so much that they did and that happened. Russia really came into being a world power, I would say, during this century. And then it kind of like blows up in their face a little bit.
It does blow up in their face. In fact, when we reach into the 20th century, most notably the Great War, World War One, Russia is a great power, and it does have one, if not the, I think it does have the largest military in the world. However, it think of it like this: it's the kid that has the biggest stick but doesn't know how to swing it.
Yep, that's exactly what happens.
It's like one of those videos where like a kid has a bat and he swings it at a pole, but it bounces back and bashes him in the head. And you're like, well, that could have been devastating, but it wasn't.
I agree.
Yeah, but I'm going to start a little bit before in the 18th century to set the stage with some names that might ring a bell with people listening. And the first two people we're going to start with Peter the Great and Katherine the Great. So these are both world-renowned leaders.
World-renowned.
Peter the Great, we're going to start off with him because he was first. And Peter the Great starts the reforms. Not so much the social reforms, but he does a lot of the industrial reforms. Because Russia's biggest problem throughout all of history is its desire to want to modernize and to industrialize, but the inability to industrialize effectively. So Peter the Great, after centuries of fighting and almost the collapse of Russia itself, has finally united a common people in what is now known as Russia, which comes from, just a little fact, the word Russia comes from Rus, the tribe of Vikings that came over from Sweden and Norway and took over the Rus land. That's where the word Russia comes from. But yeah, so Russians are actually like Viking descendants somewhat.
That makes sense, honestly.
So Peter the Great starts off with these big reforms. He makes the army, and he organizes it. He builds a strong, large army, and he builds Russia's first navy. He makes the capital St. Petersburg, founds that city, and builds it literally out of the fucking marsh. The way that he was able to accomplish this so quickly in his lifetime, though, is Russia at this time is a serfdom. Russia's going to be a serfdom for a lot longer still, too. Like,
Oh yeah.
they
They have been real quick. I believe they've had a serfdom since 1600s.
correct. And before
Serfdom.
that, it was just kind of tribal and disjointed, and then like slavery is what they called it, but everybody likes the fancy word of serfdom, which is just slavery with extra steps. But, you know.
Indentured servitude.
Fancy words for slavery. But, so he does this. He does a lot of building, a lot of construction. He builds this grand palace that becomes the home of all the czars after him to come. And I think that these are the Romanovs, actually. Like, these might be the Romanovs. I didn't write it down anywhere, but I remember that.
Say, does he start the Romanov bloodline?
I think he does. But honestly, when it comes to bloodlines, it's a bunch of fucking bullshit, especially with the next thing that happens, which I'm gonna, after him, that's all I really wanted to talk about with him, is he starts these reforms in the 18th century, and then is succeeded by his son, who was married to Catherine the Great, but Catherine the Great sees her husband as a weak-willed mule and assassinates him to seize power. So basically, the Romanovs are already gone because she just assassinated the Romanov. But she still holds the title. Catherine the Great is a fucking brutal bitch. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
Oh, she bad. Oh, she bad. Oh, she pop off.
Like, holy shit. I mean, near the end of her life, though, she does have a turnaround. But I just want to state some things that this lady started to do and accomplished. She annexed Crimea, taking over the Khanate that was there before, one of their long-time enemies.
One of the longest Khanates. Oh, go ahead. No,
yeah.
I was just gonna say one of the longest Khanates to have to still be existing during that time, even after the fall of the Tartars.
Yes, and after that, she took over most of Lithuania, which was one of Russia's longtime enemies, because Lithuania, they won a decisive battle against Lithuania, and I think destroyed a majority of their army, and Lithuania just wasn't able to do anything. So basically all of its neighbors just came in and chopped it up. They just chopped it up into little sections over a couple of years, and then Lithuania was gone. They didn't even really put up a fight after that one big loss. It was just like they came in, chop, 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 gone. But Russia took a majority of Lithuania. Now this is where the hatred for Jews, I think, really starts in Europe, because
Would you really?
Oh, this is I'm about to explain why.
Okay.
Especially in Eastern Europe. This is where the hatred for Jews comes from.
Oh, for Eastern, I was going to say, okay, yeah.
Western Europe, I don't know what the fuck's going on over there. They've always hated them. Probably going back to the Roman Empire and the Revolt from during Trajan hate.
And especially during the time of the Holy Roman Empire and stuff, and the plague as well.
But anyways,
Jews were I just wanted to
go ahead.
Reiterate real quick. So for the viewers who may not know, Europe has always had an anti-Semitic problem.
Yeah, they looked at him as dirty and undesirable.
There's always been an and I don't know if that still exists today, but just know that back in the past, that it was very prevalent even before the time of the Nazis.
Yeah, correct.
Yikes.
But what the Russians do is they impose literally just anti-Semitic laws. They have it to where Jews are not allowed in cities. Jews are not allowed to travel from the areas they're in. They are trapped in those areas. They're basically below the serfs, which, in thinking of it, is basically kind of like an apartheid in how they were keeping the poor serfs divided, and you kept these other serfs happy because you had them hating the Jewish serfs, and they were above the Jewish serfs, which had even less rights than the normal serfs. You see it lots of times throughout society, especially when it comes to using forced labor. You'll have the normal forced labor class, but then you'll have a subclass of forced labor that's even the normal class of forced labor feels superior to and looks down onto. But with them being kicked out of the cities and being constricted to those regions, they are literally not allowed throughout the rest of the Russian Empire. They are only allowed in Western Ukraine and the Slavic Balkans region. And even then, it's limited still to the amount of area they're in. So Russia has made it to where they cannot migrate at all, which I think is a big way of shooting themselves in the foot when they want to industrialize. You have just limited a large portion of your population to not be able to move, not be able to develop area, not be able to go into factories, not be able to be traveled across the country to other areas that need developed. You've got them all stuck here, basically being kind of not used to their full potential. But that's just from strictly an industrialization point of view and a development point of view. Of course, this is wrong. You shouldn't do this. It's bad. I don't think I should have to say that, but I feel I'm just staying safe and saying like this is horrible what they were doing to the Jews. And I also want to reiterate what was said earlier, to where hatred and anti-Semitism was not a strictly German thing in Europe forever, and it is still not strictly a European thing as well. It's terrible. These are just people. They need to be left alone. But after those laws, Catherine the Great has a change of heart later in her life. And she's like, I feel I've been too harsh on my people. I feel, what am I going to leave? A legacy of terror, death, destruction. And this is where Voltaire comes in. This fucker. This cocksucker. This French bastard. And
Ooh, some heavy words.
yeah, I hate Voltaire. He's a fucking fraud and like a pompous prick. But his ideals with enlightenment are okay at best. I am a classical with Socrates, Diogenes, Plato, Aristotle. They literally got it right almost 3,000 years ago, and everybody's just been trying to one up them since and fucking falling flat on their fucking face. But so she goes into the Enlightenment movement with Voltaire, being personal friends with Voltaire, and she opens up the Hermitage Museum, one of the old palaces that still stands today, one of the oldest museums in the world. And then she also starts up schools and colleges and starts educating a lot of the Russian nobility, and there's not really a middle class, so I guess just nobility. But she starts being more of a philanthropist near the end of her life and starts thinking more towards this idealism of like actually debating destroying serfdom, which she doesn't do. So after that, her son Paul takes up the reins. Paul does not last very long because Paul is following in his mother's footsteps of the Enlightenment, and all the military and a lot of the aristocracy is just like, no, we're not going to free the serfs. What the fuck's wrong with you? Stop with all this French mumbo jumbo. Get the fuck out of here. And he is quickly assassinated in a palace coup, I think a year or two after he gains power. But yeah, so that brings us to the 19th century. And at the 19th century, now we know who's in charge. We've already talked about him before. It's Alexander the First.
Mm-hmm.
And notable thing that we did not talk about with Napoleon, though, is this was before Napoleon was up in northern Italy, but the only armies that were still finding victory over the French armies in northern Italy were the Russian armies. The Russian armies are the only ones that defeated some of the French forces in northern Italy before Napoleon came in and wiped the fucking floor with those fools. But Alexander the First is anointed emperor in 1801. I literally just have written down, because we've already talked about it before and I don't feel like talking about Napoleon a bit more again, but Napoleon beats the shit out of Russia until 1807. That's basically sums it up, like, good enough.
More or less how I recall it, yeah.
Yeah. And then it comes to the Borodino, the Pyrrhic victory for Napoleon over the Russians, and then the Russian winter that came back and destroyed his army. And then 1814, all this time, this decade and a half at the first start of the century, is basically just Napoleon. It's Napoleon. Napoleon.
Having flashbacks right now.
Yeah, he's the main character of history for that, like, decade or so. It's just Napoleon. You're not gonna research anything, especially in Europe during that time, that's not gonna have Napoleon fucking written somewhere on it. Probably it's written in the header most of the time as well. But then Napoleon's abdicated in 1814, and that's the end of Napoleon. But something we didn't talk about, the aftermath of what happened when Napoleon was abdicated, was, as I said with Lithuania, the coalition divvied up all of Napoleon's territories, and, in a sense, France's territories. So Poland, which was not Poland at the time, but I don't remember the name of it, was taken over by Russia at this time as sort of like a grievance payment for having to deal with Napoleon. They got Poland. And because the leaders in Poland and Warsaw were backing Napoleon, hoping that Napoleon would free them. And then after this, after they get that consolidation, there's no really war going on, and Russia forms the Holy Alliance with Prussia and Austria. Of course, Prussia had its ass kicked pretty bad, but they're going to have a comeback in the later years. I'm not going to talk about them, really, but I'm just saying Prussia has a comeback with its military in the 19th century. Austria, dog shit. They're just dog shit until they go away. Literally, just dog shit until they go away in, like, after World War One. And then we get to the 1820s. We have the start of the Caucasian War, though, which is fought in the Caucasus. If you guys know where that region is, it's talked about in the news a lot.
Yeah.
It's where it's that little bit that's connected, I think, between the Black Sea and is it the Crimean Sea? I don't think it's the Crimean Sea. I need a map. One second.
I need a drink. What movie, Levi? What movie?
Indiana Jones.
No.
What?
She goes, I need a drink. Or no, she says, you need a drink.
Yeah.
It's called The Room.
Oh my god, no. Stop!
Lisa, you know I don't drink.
Terrible acting, you know.
You take that back.
Oh, I think it's the Caspian Sea.
Tell me why Zoe was ahead of his time. The Caspian Sea. I know that sea.
Maybe, perhaps. Maybe. I don't know. I got, like, the worst maps of all time.
Well, sorry, audience. We actually don't know.
Oh, wait. It is the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. I was right.
Spoiler alert.
I have a giant map on my wall right here, and I could have just looked at it the entire time. But yeah, the Caucasus is the area that's straddled between the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea that connects to northern Turkey to the rest of Europe. And that's where it's being fought in the Caucasus Mountains. They were just fighting back then for territorial expansion. Now they're fighting in that region to control a vital pipeline for oil because Russia is the only one selling oil to Europe right now. So that's the difference of what's happening there. But the Caucasus War starts in 1817 and it will not be over for 50 years.
Damn.
Yeah, so yeah. But this is a rarity for Russia throughout the next century. They fight a lot of wars, and they are usually very decisive in the wars that they fight. They fight them, and they're done fucking quick. They beat the shit out of everybody. Then, after this one, after the start of the Caucasian War in 1825, Emperor Nicholas is appointing. And then we have the military revolt and the December revolt. The December revolt failed. It failed miserably. Nicholas holds on to power. And a lot of military officials are executed because they thought that he was going to be too like Katherine and Paul and Enlightenment, when that is not how Nicholas is going to roll at all. He is not going to free the serfs at all. So after this, in 1828, we have the start of the Russo-Persian War, which is fought in what's the name of the area now? Like modern Uzbekistan, and he gets really close to modern Pakistan as well. With this, takes over small parts of modern day Iran, and it's just
Jeez.
Yeah, the Russian Empire was not fucking around. They were so successful with this war that right after that, 1 year later, they started the Russo-Turkish War. This is the first Russo-Turkish War, I want to say, where the Russians started fighting the Ottoman Empire. And this time they're fighting in like Romania and Bulgaria, still part of Europe, going downwards towards Turkey. And they beat the shit out of the Ottomans again. They just, and this scares the rest of Europe because they were just like, we just got done with Napoleon, who was trying to take over the fucking world. Now we got to deal with the fucking Russians trying to take over the world. So the rest of the coalition, which is now including France and the UK, are all like, "Hey, Russia, back the fuck off of the Ottomans." And Russia's just like, "But they are not Christians. What are you doing?" And
Wait. What was that accent?
yeah, they are not Christians. What are you doing?
What is that?
But
Are we do we do accents now for our people?
you know, sometimes, especially
Gotcha.
1 second.
That's why you were drinking that vodka before the podcast,
No,
so you
I
could
don't drink vodka. That shit's
get that. Little quick tangent. You're doing great, by the way, but a little quick tangent.
Okay.
Some criticisms.
No. Sometimes me and some friends will do little shots and drinking and stuff. And for whatever reason, I was like, hey, let's take a shot of vodka. I don't know if you guys have ever had vodka.
Oh yeah.
Straight.
Yeah.
Worst thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like rubbing alcohol going down your throat.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yeah,
that's the starter alcohol. Everybody starts with shit tier bottom shelf vodka, just drinking it straight. But like, where you been, bud? Where you at?
Playing Call of Duty on the Vita.
No, what are you drinking instead? You drinking high shelf stuff? You drinking the stuff with actual developed flavors and tastes that you're not gonna understand or have the palate developed for, because you gotta off everything you ate up until the time you had that first drink by drinking that bottom shelf vodka.
I get that top shelf Kool-Aid jammers.
Nice.
Thanks. Make a
Sorry.
timestamp. 42 minutes. We cut that out. All right, Matthew, continue.
Yeah, so the Russia-Turkish War, and then also,
It happens.
yes, it happens, and the Russians beat the fuck out of them. It's just like,
Yeah.
literally, it happens so quick. It's like a few months. These are like, I'd classify them as conflicts, not even wars, with how fast Russia fucking goes and just beats the shit out of everybody and takes over
Now,
these
question.
massive portions of land. Yeah?
Next question. So I know when we were talking about Napoleon, we said after one of you said, I don't remember who, that after Napoleon's thing ended, it was a relative time of peace until World War One for Europe. So was that not including Russia, or were these just so small that no one really regards them as wars?
So when we were talking about that, we meant as like a relative time of peace in like mainland Europe and a relative time of peace in Western Europe. That's what most of history cares about, is Western Europe. This is happening in Southeastern Europe, on the cusp edge of Europe, like literally bordering the Black Sea and right there next to Turkey.
Yeah, places where people don't generally look, yeah.
Yeah, places where people aren't really taught about history or care about most of the time. But a lot of stuff does happen over in this area. And there is constant conflicts because after the Russo-Turkish War, and the Russians had to concede what is now modern Bulgaria back to Turkey because all of the rest of the allies in Europe and powers at the time had sided with the Ottomans and threatened to declare war on Russia, they decided to make a bargain, strike a deal, and take less than what they had at first. But this attack on the Ottoman Empire and on the Turkish state left them weakened and showed that they were weak and they were a rotting empire at this time. The Ottoman Empire was in decline, had been in decline for a while, and this gave a certain country an opportunity, a chance for independence, a time to strike. And let me tell you, in May of 1832, Greece got its freedom from the Turks.
Hey.
Yes. 1832, the country that is renowned for the start of democracy but hasn't had democracy for 2,300 years.
Yo, shout out to
Finally got its
Greece, the
freedom.
cause of the 2008 financial crisis.
Was
But
it
that's
really
in the-
Greece, though?
I mean, that's what school told me, so.
School told you wrong.
Maybe.
I don't want to get into this
we're
right
not
now.
gonna get into this.
I don't want to get
We're
into
not
it.
gonna
My
get into
blood is boiling.
subprime
I'm
mortgage
just throwing
loans.
that. It was. They were the initial cause back in like 2005, but you know, domino effect, butterfly.
All I'm saying, this.
Really?
All I'm saying,
It's
okay.
kind of Hitler's fault. It kind of started with Hitler,
Andrew, I'm
honestly.
gonna slap the shit out of you through this fucking screen.
I think the professor just hated Greek.
No, that's a fair point, actually, because I would argue. I know this has nothing to do with this, but I would argue real quick. One thing that I learned, one theory I heard recently, and one that I actually entirely agree with, it's kind of like an answer I've been looking for a while, was that due to the lack of insufficient retaliation towards Nazi aggression in the before the days of World War II, is what had ultimately led to the Cold War.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about if we actually told Hitler to shut the fuck up and you're not going to do shit. And this is what's going to happen if you do something.
Definitely wouldn't have been a race to Berlin.
Do you mean the
sure.
United States telling you
I
to
mean,
do
yeah,
that?
I mean everybody.
Because the United States wasn't a power at this time either.
Yeah, I mean they were a power.
No.
They weren't like
But,
the power.
I'm
No.
talking still though. There was still everybody was afraid to say something.
Yeah, Well,
You even had Neville Chamberlain saying there's peace in our times. Oh, well, you were fucking wrong.
yeah. The thing is, though, that's a great idea. Is like everybody to come together and say like, "Hey, Germany, back the fuck off," which is basically what I just talked about happened to the Russians, to the Russian Empire at this time.
Mhm.
Is
Would bring it back.
all of Europe was like, "Hey, Russia, back the fuck off of the Ottomans, or else we're gonna fuck with you," and they backed off for a
Damn.
little bit,
Loser.
but also at the same time, the difference between what was happening now and what was happening pre-World War II in Germany is that Germany had basically become an ethno state by that.
No. It literally did. No, it literally did.
Yeah, so like it was too late. There was no opposition. There was no chance for an opposition to grow in there. During this
There was
time with the Russian Empire, there's opposition.
I understand. Okay, I understand. Like no chance for an opposition within the German state, but I'm talking opposition on the world stage.
Yeah, but also all of the other powers, France had already made its stance known because they lost 1/3 of their population in World War
Listen.
One.
What I'm saying here is like a perfect world. Okay.
Correct.
Let's
Yeah.
think of it like this. Let's say like Russia and Germany never had a signed a non-aggression pact. Think of it like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but Stalin wanted to basically relive the Russian Empire. He wanted Poland. He wanted what used to be Lithuania. He wanted a Finland back, and he
He still got it.
Yeah, and he got
by
it.
beating Germany.
The country that gained the most out of World War II is debatable because it could either be Russia or the United States. It's debatable with that, but I would like to get back to Russian imperialism stretching over Europe and its influence on Europe and the rest of the world. Almost, they were even fucking with China. They were like, "Hey, China, what you doing down there?" But they didn't really do anything on that front because they didn't have the population, they didn't have the coordination. During this time, the world stage was Europe. Europe is what matters. Nobody gives a fuck about the United States and the Americas except for to make money by extracting raw resources and growing sugarcane and tobacco and that too. Yes, bananas. I forgot how valuable bananas were. But nobody gives a fuck about Asia because they're like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, but they like sucking those bananas too.
Yeah, who fucking cares about Asia? Most of the colonial powers at this point really didn't care about Asia too much, except for, I think, Britain. That was basically getting the entire population of China addicted to opioids. But, yeah. So, we have this. And I also was going to say a little fact. Alexander Herzen, the father of socialism, is born during the 1830s, my bad, who will come to influence Karl Marx, the worst scumbag in history.
Whoa.
But after this, we have...
a bold claim.
I'm just saying he is pretty scummy. Think about it.
I mean,
this man, the leader, the man of communism. You gotta pay to go see his grave.
That's fucked up. The man was also
Think about it.
Like
$10 entry, please.
When I was doing research on this subject, I found out that Karl Marx was just a mooch as well. Like the way he was able to be a writer and live such a sophisticated life and be up in the higher crust is because he had this German baroness that he was wooing. She was ugly, but she was rich, so he was just mooching off of her his entire life. Never had a job, never had a career, never was an entrepreneur, never started
Damn, I need that.
in finances. He was just mooching off this woman, and then wrote. I don't even remember what the book is called.
Communist Manifesto.
Little Red Book.
Yeah, the thing that doesn't work. That's what I know it as.
Fun fact. I don't know why this happened,
but doesn't work.
But
it does have some good points.
My sophomore year of college, for whatever reason, I took a philosophy class that was all about Karl Marx.
It was all about Karl Marx.
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't even
that is fucking sad.
The class didn't even say Marxism or whatever. It's just that's all the teacher talked about was Karl Marx, and the
What
teacher liked
fuck?
Karl Marx too.
What?
It's so fucking
Where was
sad.
this?
From a education point of view, not as a like, oh, Karl Marx preaches the truth,
So
believe
wait.
everything Marx says or anything. More of a let's delve into this. Let's delve into the
So,
you know,
question though.
all this.
Were you taught about other philosophers too?
I mean, I've learned about the philosophers, yeah.
No.
In
In
that class,
that specific class, were you taught about
I mean,
other
they mentioned them, yeah, but a lot of it was
mentioned
about
them.
Marx.
Did you
Listen,
start
and
with the
honestly,
foundation?
I don't know. Sophomore year, I wasn't paying attention. I showed up to
College.
like one class every 2 months. Like,
Okay,
who
now I
knows?
just don't
All
trust
I
your
know is
actual opinion on this because the
Okay,
teacher
okay,
might
okay.
have
well,
Oh,
you might have gone to
okay,
one
okay.
class.
This, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
homework, it was always about Marx.
If
Did
he
you do
actually
the
was
homework?
doing the homework to probably try and get a grade, so that means that okay, that's a whole
To
debacle.
try and
But
get a
like,
grade,
if
he
you're
gets degrees.
that's not how you're supposed to teach philosophy. You're supposed to start with the eldest ones. You start with your base, you start with the foundation, and then you go and work from
Well, if
that
you're so
foundation.
good, why don't you
not-
become a philosophy teacher?
That's not. I mean, philosophy
Who,
101,
me?
yeah, you
I
do.
don't
But
want
once
to
you
be a
get up
teacher.
to
Fuck them
Yeah,
kids.
when you get to advanced classes, they don't keep starting at the foundation. They move up. Like, you don't always have to start at the beginning. It's a little redundant. If you're in your fourth philosophy class, be like, okay, guys, here we go.
That's
Yeah,
a good Green
but
Day
was
song.
that your first philosophy class?
No, I told you I was a sophomore. I
That
took
doesn't
philosophy 101
happen.
in freshman.
Okay.
Anyways,
Why are you the
back
way
to
that you
Russia.
are?
Yeah, but
What,
anyways,
me? Are you talking about me? I'm saying 101's the first one. It wasn't 101.
back to what we're talking about with the Russian Empire during the 19th century. We're at the mid-century right now in 1852. And we're back again. The Russians, with their navy, have decided, I'm going to fuck with the Ottoman Empire again. And they go down and they literally, in one day, beat the Ottomans on their home turf, on Turkey, on the actual homeland of Turkey. Their navy obliterates Sinop, which they will later name a battleship after, this famous Battle of Sinop. And the weakened Ottoman Empire has nothing they can do. They don't have a strong enough navy, they don't have a strong enough military, they're very disjointed, bloated, corruption everywhere. Nobody's coordinating very well against this Russian attack. But luckily for them, the rest of fucking Europe has had it with Russia. And Great Britain, Austria, France, and the Ottoman Empire all declare war on Russia.
Yikes.
And then we have the Siege of Sevastopol, which lasted 1 year, and the city fell. Sevastopol is on the Crimean Peninsula. And the reason the siege happened here is because it was the quickest way to get the Ottomans involved with it, but also the British fleet was there as well. Austria didn't do much there, and France didn't do much there. France is still like a shit show of a country at this point, I would like to say, because they are still not really, they're just a puppet. France is a puppet state throughout this entire century because their government was put in place by the other world powers after Napoleon was abdicated. So they are just a puppet state, but France is dealing with the rest of Russia over there. But the siege of Sevastopol lasts for an entire year. The Russian defenders are trying to hold out for reinforcements to arrive, but they don't arrive in time. But I will say, Russians, when it comes to defending somewhere, they will die on that fucking hill. They will. It doesn't matter what hill it is. It can be a molehill. They'll fucking die on that hill if it means it's for the motherland or for the. It was the fatherland at this point. They called it the fatherland, but they die on that fucking hill if it meant protecting the fatherland. And the British Ottomans, the whole coalition, took massive casualties. because they are just... The Crimean Peninsula itself is defensible because it's a peninsula surrounded by water, so the only way that they would be able to get into it, because the rest of the mainland peninsula that's attached to is deep Russian territory, and you're not going to be able to go up and land somewhere, or else other Russian reinforcements and regiments around are going to come around and attack you while you're trying to land, and then you have your forces spread out. But
Furiously types.
yeah, I was trying to find just a bit of... Nope, that's the wrong one. It gave me the one
That's
for
the
1941.
That's the wrong.
Yeah, but
That's the wrong.
But Russians are just fierce warriors. Their army is incredible, and the city ends up falling, and Russia signs a treaty with the rest of them saying, like, all right, I will not attack the Ottoman Empire anymore. Swearsies. Basically all it says is like, we're not going to go to war with them anymore. We won't keep being an imperialist like here. Like, we're not going to do it in Europe. We won't be expanding our empire over here. We'll leave you guys alone. That's basically what they say. But at this time, in 1855, 1856, Emperor Nicholas passes away. But he is succeeded by one of the most famous Russian emperors in history, nicknamed the Liberator, Alexander II. I'll let you guys take a guess why he's called the Liberator.
He
liberates the serfs.
What? How the fuck did you guys know? Fuck you. Fuck you for...
Did you ask how we knew? All I said was he liberates.
Oh. Well, Levi, how did you know?
Just because that makes sense. Think about it. Think about it. They have no. Think about it. What's President? What was President Lincoln's the Emancipator?
Yeah.
That just makes sense. The Liberator. Oh, he freed people.
I will say, it is pretty fucking sad, though, that the year that serfdom was abolished was the start of the Civil War in the United States.
Really?
Russia got rid of serfdom before the United States got rid of slavery. How the fuck did Russia get the high ground on us?
Listen, this is a whole nother thing that we could go into.
But anyways, yeah.
That's a whole...
That's a whole fucking can of worms.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? That's the whole fucking soil.
Yeah, that surprised me, learning that Russia got rid of serfdom before that. But I will touch on some other things that happen later on that go to show that, yeah, they abolished serfdom, but did they really? I mean,
that's usually what happens.
Yeah, but there's specific things that I will talk about with it that show that, like, oh, yeah, that's just Russia being Russia. And so a lot of stuff happens in 1861 from this, but also as, like, just a few other events that happen. The Caucasian War is finally over in this year as well. It lasted from 1817 until 1861, so almost 50 years of war.
Man, that's pretty pog.
Pog champ.
The port of... If there's any Russians, don't go after me. Vladivostok?
Oh, they come for you.
Oh, Vladivostok. Yeah, Vladivostok. Yeah, I know.
Coming for both of you now.
I know, like, the V in Russian is supposed to be pronounced as an F.
The first part of it looks like Vlad, but I know it's not pronounced Vlad.
Hey, Vlad!
Hey!
Is founded over... where is it? It's in like Siberia. The coast it's touching the Pacific Ocean. That's where I know it is. It's over there somewhere. And then from the serfs being abolished, we have the Zems, Zemstva, Zemstva. I definitely said that wrong. Magistrate formed, which incorporates peasants, ex-serfs, and the nobles into a magistrate to where they are all supposed to work together and have like equal representation, but that's not how it works. Come on, get out of here. And this just goes to the nobles causing a lot of problems. The nobles,
Those pesky nobles.
yeah, throughout this time until the end of his life, Alexander II is plagued with having to deal. He's basically balancing between the freed serfs now and the nobles of like how to keep them both happy and how to not have the nobles assassinate him or have the serfs assassinate him for doing too much for one or the other. And he kind of catches himself in a trap with it, which will unravel later to be his ultimate demise, is basically him doing the right thing and freeing the serfs is gonna bring about his end. But he is very, as you can tell, he's very liberal, he's very progressive, and he's moving with this whole new way of Russia forward. Russia is going to go into the new age. Is going to be more Europeanized, more westernized. They're going to He allows for visas for people to travel from Russia now. Not the Jews. The Jews are still stuck in their spot. They're not allowed to go anywhere.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But every other people, the freed serfs are now allowed to travel wherever they want. They can get visas. It's relaxed. They can go learn about new ideas. They can go talk with Karl Marx over in, I think it's like fucking England somewhere. And so he's opened it up and he's allowing a lot of these ideas to come into Russia as well. A lot of technologies to come into Russia. They build their first railway between, I think it's St. Petersburg and Moscow. And he's trying to industrialize very fast. But that's just a few things that he's trying to do, a part of the man's character. But there's an attempt on his life. And
Oh, what?
Gasp.
This darkens him because it's not an attempt from the nobles. It's an attempt from the
Are
ex-serfs.
you shitting me?
Yeah. It's an attempt from the ex-serfs, and it darkens his demeanor towards this new equality and trying to help them. And he gets very bitter and starts imposing strict laws. He kind of does what Stalin does, to where he has these little villages of people now being forced to farm the land there. They have to stay there. He now imposes a tax on them to pay back their former masters. They're paying back their former masters. I don't remember the name of the tax, but he has this tax that the government's helping a little bit with, but they are paying the nobility back now because of this, as a way of keeping as a punishment and a way of keeping the nobles in line as well, because he just had an attempt on his life by the serfs. And this goes well with the nobles, but the serfs are very unhappy. He doesn't give a fuck. He's like, you know what? I'm going to let the nobles start abusing you again as well. That happens. But there's some other large world events happening as well during this time. And we have the Great Game in Afghanistan takes off. The Great Game over Afghanistan, over this area. And it's between British colonial controlled India and Russia. Basically, what's a good way to simplify this? It's a 19th century Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
And Afghanistan and its government is the battleground. Spies from both sides, lobbying from both sides, trying to flip Afghanistan to their side is going on for a long time. And nothing really happens during it, but I will say it is probably part of the reason why there's so much destabilization in that area to this day, is because it was basically used as a chess piece for decades in the 19th century and then just abandoned. So that happens. And then in 1867, Russia does the best solid it can ever do, almost a better solid than when Napoleon sold the Louisiana Purchase to the United States. He sells Alaska to the United States for $7.2 million US dollars
Hell
at the
yeah.
time. And they were like, it's useless, it's tundra, it's cold, we've already got plenty of that, we don't need that. Little did they know, rare minerals,
Stupid.
gold, oil is all up there.
Oil.
How long before
So-
Russia inevitably does the invasion of Alaska and annexes it like they did over Ukraine?
Yeah, that ain't gonna fucking happen as long as I'm alive. But and then in 1869, War and Peace. Jesus
Good
Christ.
Christ. You can you see straight?
Pain.
Jesus Christ.
All right, continue.
Sorry.
Oh my god.
Hey,
But-
can we take a quick break real quick because of that? I'm sorry.
And we're back through that. Matthew, continue.
So I was talking about War and Peace, the book being published. And the reason I brought this up is to show that even though he's doing these hard crackdowns again and he's starting to subjugate the ex-serfs and the peasant class a little bit more again, he's still allowing them like cheap visas. Like people can still get visas and travel, people can still write, and he's not really suppressing the press that much because War and Peace is about the French invasion of Russia and
It's
the
about Napoleon and the aristocracy and the
The Tsarist
nobility
society.
in society and the battles and the soldiers.
yeah.
That's what it's about.
And it's kind of critiquing the aristocracy and the czars in Russia when it was published in Russia by Leo Tolstoy.
Tolstoy.
Tolstoy? I
Tolstoy.
don't know.
Tolstoy.
Tolstoy? Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's still allowing for this stuff to be published because Nicholas, from what I understand, in my opinion, still wants the best for the people. He still wants the best for the people. He's just trying to work with the aristocracy to get with what's best for the people without having the aristocracy try to tear him down, kill him, tear apart the country into a civil war. And this is all well and good, but in reality, most of the time, stuff like that doesn't happen. But in 1877, the second Russo-Turkish war takes place. Russia is, of course, victorious again, beating the fuck out of them
Again.
yet again. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about, that's just a side note. I'm not really talking about the battle tactics because it's all Napoleonic tactics that we went over in our last videos about Napoleon. If you wanted to learn about the tactics that were used, just go back and listen to those videos. We go really in depth at certain points, talking about the strategy, the organization, and even the supply chain. But in 1881, Tsar Nicholas, on his way to sign a constitution with rights for the serfs, is assassinated by an explosion by a terrorist group of serfs. Ex-serfs. Talk about shooting yourself in the fucking foot. Talk about trying to start a sprint with your shoelaces tied. Talk about jumping off a boat and hitting the fucking ground. These guys fucked themselves so hard by doing this. and assassinating him, especially in this way, because this just basically gave the czars, which I think isn't it Nicholas II after that?
Should be.
Yeah, it's Nicholas II. It's just basically the czars at this point are like, well, they're afraid now because you just murdered the czar that was trying to help you. So they're going to double down on those suppression tactics now. And this kind of gets us into
20th century,
the 20th
pre
century.
20th century. So I know this is about 19th century, but we can't talk about the 19th century without getting into the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
That could be said for all centuries. And one of the biggest players, or two of the biggest players in Russia during this time, are a man by the name of Tsar Nicholas II. And whatever you think of Tsar Nicholas II, we can either say he was the worst Tsar to have ever lived, or he was just simply the wrong man at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And another key player within Russia throughout the life of Tsar Nicholas is the evil monk, the Wizard of Russia, Rasputin. Rasputin. And so yeah, we can get into that a little bit and talk about how these two men's lives, the emperor and a very sinful Orthodox Christian monk,
Promiscuous.
very promiscuous, how their lives inevitably become intertwined with one another.
I mean, it's more of one person causing the intertwining than the other.
Well, I mean, there are reasons why.
Strong in the sense of famous world.
What are you doing, Andrew?
With terror and fear, but to Moscow's chicks, he was such a lovely dear. He could preach the Bible like a preacher, full of ecstasy.
Okay. We know the song. Shit.
I had someone actually ask me, why'd they make this song? Is this a real person? I was like, ugh.
Rasputin.
It's like, really?
Yes. Grigory Rasputin was a very real person.
It's not just a Just Dance song.
So
Fucking uncultured.
I'm not gonna give a whole lifelong lesson about these two men. Well, I will talk about Tsar Nicholas II a little bit. I know some things about his early life that can play into how his future mishaps and mistakes.
I just wanted to. We're done talking about really the 19th century Russia at this point, and I just want to say it is as an overarching everything I learned about it, what I can really see with Russia at this time is it's putting its best foot forward. It's really becoming an empire and a world power through this time. It shows its teeth, and it gets even a lot of the European powers to back off a bit from it. And it has its identity as a world power really developing. And the czars themselves, I just want to say one thing about them. With all their faults, you can look at them as dictators with tyranny, authoritarian regimes, whatever you want. A lot of the czars understood the shortcomings of their system of government and understood the shortcomings of it and tried to fix it. They aren't inherently evil people because they were czars and because they ruled as emperors. They wanted to do the right thing. They were literally constrained by the aristocracy and the nobles that if they were to have done this would have killed them. And it's a bit ironic that the czar that set them free was assassinated by the people he set free. And then we can talk about Rasputin on
very
that
heartfelt speech, and that's what needed to be said. So how do these last two big players of Russia before World War One come into play here? Well, Tsar Nicholas II is he's having a hard time right now. him and his wife are just having a hard time. What are they having a hard time with? Well, they keep having girls. And they keep having daughters. And what's the problem with that? Well, for there to be another Tsar of the Romanov bloodline, air quotes, it has to be a son. So, around, I'm going to look this up real quick. All right, we get it.
I'm trying
There
to
we go.
fill in
There we go.
airtime while y'all are quiet.
There we go. There we go. Sorry, I forgot his name. In 1904, in August, Nicholas II and his wife finally succeed. They have a son. His name is Alexei. But there's a problem. Alexei is a hemophiliac.
No.
He gets it from his parents.
No.
It's genetic. I don't need to tell you how bad it is for a baby to be a hemophiliac, especially in the year 1904. But eventually,
No.
Alexei grows up. He does. Alexei does grow up. To about... I'm going to look it up again. I'm sorry if I'm looking this up. I know like our viewers can just look it up, but shit, we're the ones talking about it. You're the ones listening, so...
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine with you looking up stuff, and I like looking up stuff just to make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. And, I mean, I have a lot of talking points written down with a lot of years written beside it, but, I mean, I kind of do have a map on hand. I just forget about it because I'm an idiot. I mean, I put it here specifically for the reason of having a map on hand when I do the podcast or talk about parts of the world, but then I forget about it because I'm an idiot. But yeah, go ahead.
So let's go back here real quick. In 1903, Grigory Rasputin finds himself in St. Petersburg, and he is just a flu in the community. Yeah, this man is making a name for himself. He is, as Matthew said before, promiscuous.
This man fucks.
And then in 1904, of course, as I stated previously, Alexei is born. He's hemophiliac. 2 years later, Tsar Nicholas II and his wife are getting desperate. They have to find someone who can help Alexei. There's really no doctor in Russia that can help him or knows how to treat him. So they are at their wits' end with trying to find someone that can help their son, the future Tsar of Russia, or would have been.
Yeah, what would have been?
Who would have been? Rasputin comes into play. The Romanovs hire Rasputin to be Alexei's personal doctor. Think of it like that. His personal doctor. Or, in a way, yes. Rasputin's not really a doctor per se, but let's
a lot of the monks at the time were trained in healing,
in
ways of healing. Medicinal practices.
In medicinal practices, but not. But as far as surgery such as that, but Rasputin proves his worth to the Romanovs. In fact, with his time with Alexei's symptoms and accidents, because I don't know if you guys know how hemophilia works, but if you get a cut, or like even the smallest, you don't stop bleeding.
Yeah, we had a friend in high school that had it, Levi.
We did? Who was it?
Aspen.
Oh shit! Bleep that out.
Yes, I will bleep it out.
Okay,
we'll be saying real people's names.
Right,
there's no last name. Oh my god.
Still.
Sorry, my bad. All right, never mind. But anyway, yes. So And one of his many treatments for Alexei is this. He says to stop giving him painkillers. Now I know what you're thinking, like, oh, that should have been known first off, but it really wasn't. When painkillers were first made, nobody really fully understood their like how that they can negatively affect us.
Addiction.
Well, that, but also how they can be NSAIDs, I believe. They can cause bleeding within the stomach.
Mm.
Oh.
So first off, Rasputin says, get him off painkillers. I'm going to do other treatments. I can't remember what other treatments he gave Alexei, but during Rasputin's time with Alexei's condition gets better, so to say. He's able to grow up with his condition. Does that make sense? He's able to live. He has a shot now. He's no longer, his parents are no longer afraid of letting their son go outside and play by himself. Does that make sense?
Yes. I get what you're getting after.
Mm-hmm.
The man's not gonna drop dead from one little slice now anymore.
Yeah.
He still could, but it's very less likely.
But he's very less likely now. But there's a problem. Rasputin is in love with the Empress. Very in love. Lover of the Russian queen.
Mm.
And her name is God, what is her name?
While you're looking for that name, I'm just gonna say this to all the people out there: shoot your shot. This man got a queen, and he was a monk.
He was a monk.
Just gotta shoot your shot.
He was a monk. Queen Alexandra. So they start having. Well, it's rumored that they were having intimate relationship with one another, a sexual relationship with one another. But those are just rumors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during this time, there are numerous other problems going on in Russia. There's a lot of problems going on in Russia. One of the most notables of those is the Russo-Japanese War.
Oh shit, when did that happen? Fuck.
Early 1900s.
The Russo-Japanese War would begin during the year that Alexei would be born.
Oh.
From 1904 to 1905. The Empire of Japan and the Empire of Russia went to war against each other. And it was a tremendous blow to the Russian Empire. In fact...
Yeah, they get fucking dunked on.
In fact, the rest of Europe turned around and looked at Japan and said, we need to look out for this guy.
Get a load of this guy over here on his island.
No. More like, do not take eyes off that motherfucker because he might come after us next.
He's got this weird sword that apparently is really, really sharp, and just like, you gotta watch out. Apparently, he's gonna come at you and just slice you in fucking half.
The Russian Navy during the Russo-Japanese War is completely devastated, completely destroyed. And I'm not going to go into the naval battles, but just look them up.
Oh, we'll get into it one day.
Yeah, we'll get into it one day, but just look up how fucking disastrous they fuck up.
The pre-dreadnought Mikasa by the Japanese went out there, and it did fucking work, let me tell you. It beat the fuck out of that navy. It was the most advanced ship of its time, and it fucking wiped the floor with the Russian Navy.
Russia has to Russia. Hang on a second, guys. I gotta send a text real quick.
Well, if you don't, I'm gonna call the Mikasa back up, and it's gonna blast your ass into oblivion. It's actually a museum ship right now as well.
Really?
The only remaining pre-dreadnought class battleship left in the world.
Really? That's
Yes.
awesome. But anyway,
Beat the
so
fuck out of the Russians.
so fuck, I'm losing my train of thought here. The fucking Russians lose the Russo-Japanese War, and what's really the only benefit they get out of it other than losing? Well, they learn there's one tactic that will come later that will prove invaluable in the next 10 years. And that is how to strategically use machine guns.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Russia catches on to this idea very early on, because as anybody who is a World War II buff knows, and specifically learned about the specific theater, Japanese love to charge.
Oops.
The Japanese are very prosciutto at this time. They are very death before dishonor.
Very death before dishonor.
Shit, they still like that. Freaking crazies. Freaking wild heads.
Wild heads. So that's one issue. So Russia loses the Russo-Japanese War. And there's other problems. There's talks of revolts. There's talks of communist uprisings. But this doesn't really get anywhere until about 1916, 1915, really. Just know that there's socialist sentiments going around during this time. It's think of it like a cancer, and it's slowly growing.
That's the best way to describe communism.
It's a cancer slowly growing. Even to this day, when we defeated communism back in the 80s.
We didn't defeat it.
It's still growing. Yeah, it kind of self-exploded.
No, we defeated Russia. There's a difference between defeating Russia and defeating communism.
When communist Russia fell, I mean, obviously it wasn't like the defeat of communism, but it was the defeat
CCP?
of like... Well, see, but we did talk about that, because they're not fully communist.
But they are, well...
You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, but also at the same time, they rely heavily on communism as well.
Well, yeah. I meant just like,
They might not be the first iteration of communism, but they are still communism, and communism in any way of the form is a big no-no for me. Not saying that socialist things aren't okay, just communism is not okay.
Listen, all I'm saying is FDR put Americans in concentration camps, but no one wants to talk about it.
You got that fear, and everybody's afraid. So, you make mistakes.
Greatest president? People call him one of the greatest presidents.
Yo.
Debatable.
Yo, Kennedy. It's Kennedy.
Dude couldn't even keep his head together during his presidency.
Poor taste.
Boys,
I was going to say, Levi, did you have anything to say about Rasputin at the end? Were you going to talk about the multiple ways that they tried to kill him and the man just kept going and going?
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about that, how they poisoned him like 5 times.
Okay, so basically, to hurry up, the rumors get out of hand. Tsar Nicholas has to do something. And whether or not Rasputin was really fucking his wife or not, I think it was true.
I think it was probably not true, because he would have been an Orthodox monk, and the Orthodox people do not fuck around with that kind of shit. The Orthodox Church will kill you for that.
I mean, he did die. He did get killed.
Not by the Orthodox Church. The Orthodox Church knows.
So we know. I mean, there's a lot of rumors on.
You're talking about a man who screwed nobles. Like you telling me he wouldn't have tried to go after the biggest prize, the Queen of Russia?
There's rumors that it was.
You're right.
There's rumors that it was British Secret Service that killed him.
I heard that too. That's crazy.
Like, that's the wild thing, is like this assassination was so... I mean, it's the early 1900s. Technology isn't really there, so it's like there's a lot of people that wanted him dead.
King George V was a first cousin to Tsar Nicholas II. They look like identical twins in a side-by-side photo of them.
Yeah, almost half of the almost all the big powerhouse leaders had a war somehow form a way related to the Queen of England.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Kaiser Wilhelm II was cousins with King George V.
That lady's
Kaiser
still
Wilhelm. But yeah.
All right. Well, that is 19th century Russia. Thank you for carrying that podcast. Like I said before, didn't really know how to study this one. Like, I tried looking things up. Also, it's just been hell of a busy time,
Yeah,
like decided to get a puppy, which it's a lot of work.
You didn't decide to get a puppy. Your significant other got a puppy. It is her puppy, not your puppy.
It was it's a team thing. So I have to
Show me the receipt. Show me your bank statement.
I have to
Show me where you paid 50% for that puppy.
I have to watch the damn thing every day from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it feels like I'm paying for half of it.
Don't matter. It ain't your puppy. In the great words of the United States judicial system, it's not your puppy.
Me and her have a little, communist thing going on. So what is one is all.
Disowned.
So, thank you for all of that, gentlemen. Tradition continues that we rank our topic after the show. Now, it's been a minute, but our current rankings go as follows. Staying at number 1 since its conception of the podcast is Akkadian and Assyrian Mesopotamia. If you can remember way back to when we talked about that. Still number 1.
Oh, I can.
Number 2
I can.
is the Aztec Empire. Number 3, 20th century China. Number 4, Australia's origins. Number 5, the French Empire. Number 6, medieval Germany. And number 7, the Yayoi and Kofun period of Japan. Gentlemen, what are you feeling about 19th century Russia?
I don't think y'all should get a fucking vote on it.
I think we should, because
let me be a czar on this motherfucker.
Because the point of it is like interest in it. And, even if I couldn't find anything about it, listening to you talk for the last hour and a half, there was a lot more things going on in Russia than the internet led me to believe. So I found it.
Just got to do the digging.
Yeah, apparently I had a freaking spade. Well, you had a dump truck. I don't know. I mean, what are you guys thinking? Personally, put it at number 6 for me. But that's just me.
What are you gonna say?
I don't know. I was thinking like 5.
I was thinking like 5 too.
So above Napoleon?
Yeah. Well, you guys put Napoleon that far down low. I did not put Napoleon that far down low. That was you guys. Napoleon should be way up.
Because we took forever to finish it, like we took forever to make this one.
Yeah, Napoleon should have been up there like top 3. We need to get down there.
We need to get out of this time period. We need to get out of this region. Like, we gotta go.
All right, so I'd say number 5.
Okay, well, I 2 number 5s, and there you go. Our new number 5, below the origins of Australia and above the French Empire, is 19th century Russia. Now, as I just said, we need to get out of here. Your next 3 choices are not anywhere near this stuff. So for our next topic choices, we have either the Battle of Pearl Harbor, which I could really go off on Roosevelt. Really go off on him. We have the King Tut era of Egypt. And then I threw in the origins of Brazil, because I've been learning a little bit about Brazil for school, and I was like,
Man, when the fuck am I gonna get to talk about the Roman Empire? I
Not
didn't
yet.
even mention the Roman Empire this time and how the Czar literally comes from the name Caesar.
No, you mentioned the Romans at the beginning.
What do you mean? I mentioned the Romans.
You were talking about Valentine.
I did.
You always mention the Romans, no matter
Even
what.
when I don't think I did, my subconscious got me.
Mm-hmm.
Just dapped me up right there with the assist.
So what are you guys thinking for next week? Not next month, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to do another time period? Do you want to do an era, or do you want to do a battle?
I'm just gonna let you know. Yeah, I'm guessing. I already think I know where this one's gonna go for what we're doing, but I'm just gonna let you know. The only research I'm doing on it is I'm gonna watch the movie Pearl Harbor and I'm gonna watch the movie Midway. That's all I'm going to do because I've learned about so much in school. But that's the only like refreshing research I'm gonna do. I'm gonna watch the movie Pearl Harbor, the cinematic cut, and the director's cut, and I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch Midway.
Much more. There's so much more.
I know there's so much more, but that's all I'm gonna do.
There's a director's commentary. There are deleted scenes.
I swear
There are interviews with the cast. Come on, you can't just watch the cut of the movie.
Okay, guys, listen here. Ben Affleck is a fighter pilot that goes off to Britain to fight, pisses off his sweetheart that he's just met, who's a military nurse, that passed him even though he can't fucking read.
Okay, we get it. All right.
And that's
all right. So it sounds like next week our topic will be the Battle of Pearl Harbor, the entrance of the United States into World War II. Remember, if you liked what you listened to and you liked what we're doing here, make sure to give us a positive rating on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to the show. Also, go ahead and check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ThatOneAndrew, where I make fun little thumbnails for this video, for this podcast now. Did you guys see the last one with the emu?
We loved it. We should have like 5 million views on that video.
Should. Yeah, everyone go back and watch that video if you haven't already. Beautiful, great time. Talk about the emu war, along other things. We also have a Patreon, so go on over to patreon.com/ThatOneAndrew. Go ahead and support us there. We appreciate any support you give us, however, even if that is just a simple download. Levi, thank you for joining me. Matthew, thank you for joining me. And audience, thank you for listening. We will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bitch ass motherfuckers.